So now we come to item 8, the Vice-Chancellor's report. So I'll invite the Vice-Chancellor, Professor Amit Chakma, to deliver his report to Convocation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Warden Kaya Wangju. Welcome. Great to see you in person. I know that many of you early on during COVID period actually were looking forward to being able to join in person, and I'm delighted that we finally can see each other. So those of you joining us from overseas, various places, different time zones, I'm very grateful to you for your continued interest in our university. So again, welcome. Well, you have my report, so I'm not going to dwell on the topics that I have covered, but I want to give you some highlights of what we have been up to. The journey your alma mater has been for the last year or so, with a little bit of context, and then some emerging issues I'm pretty sure that you have quite a bit of interest in. So begin with a little bit of context. I arrived here in the middle of COVID, but COVID was the least of our problems. The problem was deeper than that. There's a historic reason for it. Those of you who have been attending, especially the first time I addressed you, you know that I told you that we had two major problems, a lot of problems, but two major problems. One was our enrollment was declining and our finances were in bad shape. And I used, dramatic language by describing the situation. For a long time, we are living beyond our means, spending money we didn't have. When I was appointed, I knew that there was a problem. I did not know the full extent of it. I only mentioned that. Jane, with a distinguished service at many of our universities, last being a distinguished Vice-Chancellor at Deakin University, took on as acting Vice-Chancellor. And very quickly she uncovered. So by the time actually I arrived, I knew the problem because Jane briefed me on the magnitude of the problem. So I don't want to dwell on the difficulties we have. I'm delighted to advise you that we have turned the page. Today we are not spending money that we don't have. Not only that, at some point in time, because of financial difficulties, we stopped investing in our infrastructure, both physical and digital. We have taken small steps in rectifying it. We have a long way to go, but now actually we are investing in our infrastructure. So that's a plus. So to cope with all of these things, we have embarked upon a growth journey. We are a comprehensive university with a lot of expectation from the citizens of the state. We are created to serve the people of WA. In some instances, we have done an outstanding job. In other instances, we have a lot more to do. So with that in mind, we want to maintain our comprehensive nature, and that requires our budget model requires us to grow. So we are on a journey to grow enrollment. And I'm delighted to report to you that students are coming back. First, domestic students are coming back. So relative to where we started, we now have more domestic students on our campus than we did in 2019 or 2020. Nevertheless, the domestic market is still a small market. 2.6 million people, one of the lower participation rate in higher education, tertiary education. And because of the quality of our institution, meaning we require high achieving students to come here, that market is shrinking. Even with that, we intend to grow our market share. We want to retain our leadership role in the state as the premier university of WA, and we are on that journey. Most of the growth will come from international students, and this year alone we have seen a significant growth. Borders just opened a short while ago. Still there are some challenges in some countries, for example China, but the demand for high quality education is very strong, and this institution offers high quality education. I knew that even before coming here. So you can be proud of your alma mater. It continues to be a very high quality institution, notwithstanding some of the problems that we may have faced. So Growth creates other set of challenges. These are good challenges to have, as opposed to not being able to fix buildings and those sort of things. So our growth has created accommodation problem. And we have become quite resilient, and part of it is changing culture of the place, part of it is having the financial ability to do the sort of things that needs to be done. So my colleagues proactively, without any intervention from me, anticipated that we are going to face a housing crisis in the city. And they secured 500 beds from local providers. We just locked those up, effectively guaranteed. And then we also secured support from community, homestay, and many of you have contributed to that. I can't claim that we have solved the problem, but we have significantly put a dent on the problem. Next year, we anticipate similar problem. We are in the process of securing 1,000 beds for a long-term basis. In the meantime, we are also putting a plan together to build 1,000 additional beds, not on the other side of Sterling Highway, but on our main campus, Crawley. One of the observation coming from Canada that I make is the beautiful campus, but in the evening, it's an empty campus. Right? So we want to make good use of this beautiful campus and revitalize our campus by putting some residences. And we just recruited a professional firm to help us in doing that. How do we put 1,000-bed residences, not just one, several? And what do we have to do to revitalize our campus, make it a bit more residential? And eventually, I'm hoping that it'll be also attractive to our local students who would like to experience that campus life, not just a bed, but an environment where you learn together in an enriching, if you will, atmosphere. So that's that part. Let me quickly turn to external factors that are going to impact your university. There is a national review underway. Commonwealth government has undertaken a review for the whole system, and notwithstanding uncertainty that it creates, I actually welcome that review, because it is time for this country to look at how we organize ourselves, how we fund our universities, and how our universities are meeting national needs, defined in many different ways. So that review is underway. We are actively participating in that. I'm obviously part of the Vice Chancellor's group. Our Chancellor is participating as part of the Chancellor's group. So we'll keep you posted as to what happens to that. At this stage, the panel is really receiving submissions and doing research. So there's no outcome as yet. But it can have significant impact on the sector as a whole, certainly on our university. Second review that has been launched, I'm pretty sure you are all familiar with, is by the state. And if you have been following our public statement, my public statement, I welcome it from different angles. The most important one, because of the way we are funded, we are the creation of WAA legislature. We are governed by University of Western Australia Act. So we are actually part of the state governance system. And yet our funding comes from Commonwealth. As a result, what happened, our connection to the state government had been weakened over the years. So our state basically was not paying as much attention to its universities from my perspective. So I welcome the fact that state actually is paying attention, because we are more relevant to our state than to Canberra. So therefore, that relationship is important. Second one, I also know, without getting into specifics, that we do have structural problems. I already alluded to one. We just don't have enough students to meet the needs with the current budget model of 5 universities. And that creates interesting tension and challenges. So, I will not go any more than that, except to say that that process has just begun. We have first meeting with the panel on April the 5th, introductory meeting with 4 vice chancellors of public universities, just to introduce their work, what they intend to do. And we are busy at work doing research so that we are well informed as to what sort of recommendations panel might make, how we cope with that, if you're given an opportunity, what it is that we may say. I'm delighted to advise you that our Senate had been briefed, and in their preliminary discussions, our Chancellor summarized what the position of this university ought to be. And Chancellor put it this way, I'm paraphrasing him, Robert French, AC, said, we are not going to take a position based on what is good for UWA. We at the University of Western Australia, we're going to look at the issue from the point of view of Western Australia. So that's our Chancellor. My own view is what is good for the state has to be good for UWA, and if I can be bold enough to say that what is good for UWA in most instances actually will be good for the state. So our interests are aligned. So I'm actually not concerned about it. I welcome it. Yes, it creates uncertainty, but the opportunity for us to do something good is much greater. So with that, I thank you very much for your attention, and obviously there'll be opportunities for question and answer. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vice-Chancellor.